Hey everyone, my name is Julia and I'm on the real estate team here at Republic. Thanks for joining us. Today we're excited to talk to you about NFT investing in digital real estate. I'm joined by a group of real estate and digital asset investors and enthusiasts. Janine Yorio is Republic's co-head of real estate, and she's been in the real estate industry for over 20 years in various capacities, from private equity to prop tech startups to hotel development. We also have Brian Mint and Graham Friedman from Republic's crypto group. Brian is the co-founder of Republic Crypto and a venture partner at Outliers Fund. He's been mining, researching, and investing in the blockchain space since 2016. Before crypto, he worked as a strategy consultant for Fortune 100 companies, was a PM at multiple early stage startups, and a product engineer for medical devices at Abbott. Graham is a co-founder and partner at TLDR Global, a blood mage at Metacartel Ventures, a key signer at Hopper Dow Treasury, and director of digital assets at Republic. After first discovering Bitcoin in 2013, Graham has pursued mass adoption in the digital asset space and has worked with over 20 projects to date. With a traditional background in photography and cinematography for commercial production, he brings a passionate vision and understanding of NFTs that merge his past and present pursuits. Lastly, we have Kevin Clark joining us, who is a serial entrepreneur, an NFT artist, and creator of the biggest Twitch stream in the Decentraland metaverse. After graduating from Berklee College of Music in 2015, Kevin founded his first company, Point Motion. Kevin has received a patent and multiple awards for his motion control technology, which allows users to create music through the movement of their body. Kevin also provides music production and consultation resources to empower a community of rising artists, introducing them to blockchain technology and NFTs. We've allotted about 30 minutes for our presentation with an additional 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. If you have questions, please submit them through the Q&A functionality on your Zoom interface. Look for the icon in the lower right-hand corner and we'll try our best to answer all of your questions. Before we get started, our esteemed legal team has asked that I read this very important disclaimer. This presentation is for educational and discussion purposes only. Nothing herein should be construed as investment, legal, tax, or accounting advice. Always do your own diligence and consult with your advisors. Investments on Republic are subject to total loss of principal. And with that, let's get started. I'll turn it over to you, Graham.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Julia. The reason we're all here today is that everybody's been hearing the three letters NFT over and over again. My team seems to be aligned that they are called Nifties. I might be in the solo camp of pulling it as NFT. However, we want to take this time to make an introduction, really dive a bit deeper into what exactly this asset class is, these pieces of code that sit on top of blockchain, and permit for a really new interaction with the digital world as we know it presently. So this is just a quick graph to show you that we are in an explosion of NFTs. They really do cross quite a few thresholds of various sectors and are rather broadly encompassing. So we'd like to take this time to review all of that and hopefully pass along some knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, and as someone that's been in crypto for quite some time now, I think that NFTs are super exciting. By the way, NFT stands for non-fungible token, for those of you that may be like, what are these acronyms? But I'm now having my friends that are not technology oriented, but they're more on the creative side or just like not really involved in crypto, but now they're getting involved in crypto. And that's particularly exciting for me because to me, it represents a point where now, mainstream media, it's more accessible for everyday people to be involved in blockchain technology, even though maybe they don't feel like they're using it. So it's a super cool time to be in the space. And honestly, we're going to hear this theme throughout this presentation, but we're very much in the early phases of NFTs. And this growth you're seeing on the screen is just like literally the beginning. So yep.
You did bring up a very good point, and I'm sorry I moved a little quickly. We should probably define a non-fungible token. That seems to be the perfect step one.
Yes.
For everyone that's curious, what exactly is an NFT? A standard cryptocurrency. Again, they're not all cryptocurrencies. It has to be a currency in order to get that title, i.e., some sort of exchangeable dollar-like monies. And in the case of most things that you've heard before, Bitcoin, Ethereum, there's a variety of stable assets. They can all be exchanged one for one and maintain the same value. So for example, I can spend a Bitcoin the same way I can spend any other Bitcoin. They all take the place of each other. They're fully fungible assets. An NFT world is a tokenized asset on the blockchain, the same things that Ethereum functions on, only it correlates to one specific asset. So think collectibles, think baseball cards, right? If you have a card in your hand, you are the owner. If you have an NFT in your wallet, you own whatever is correlated with that NFT. So that's what it means by non-fungible. They are unique items that sit in your digital wallet, which represents your digital identity on the blockchain.
Exactly. So like with that, I mean, you can maybe start having ideas buzzing around in your head, but now the concept of digital scarcity is a really real and enforceable thing. And we're going to see that with some of the topics we explored today, regarding music, art, all the stuff you guys are probably hearing about. So maybe we can just jump right into the next thing here and talk about music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Glad to touch in here on this. And really, music, as most of the time, one of those industries where you see artists take advantage of the technology to the fullest. Right now, we're seeing all sorts of different uses for NFTs, whether it be collectible event tickets that have special properties for special privileges to digital events, all the way to, as well as this mentality of investing in artists before they blow up, before they get big. So now people have this incentive to say, I want to purchase collectible NFTs from a relatively unknown artist now because I believe that they're amazing, they're great. And rather than just buying a CD and saying, I'm investing in that, they can actually partake in the growth of that artist. So now we're seeing artists and musicians in general able to really access and create relationships with their user base that are more direct, greater than ever before.
Oops, sorry. Oop.
Chop and screw it. That's what we're here for. So, just like music, art is obviously something that you've heard of. I think this is where the big numbers are coming from right now. Everything from the recent Beeple sale, which actually the first Beeple sale was around $3 million. Then there was a subsequent one. And then we've had the Christies sale at 69 million. So, Beeple's had a great year and it's been really fun to watch. And the reason it really worked for him was he was unique in the fact that he was prolific and built this really robust digital following while still maintaining himself as, I think he defined himself not as an artist and never really sold a piece over $100. So, he had been pumping things out daily for 13 years straight, not missing a single day. So he does have this really amazing origin story, and it's really fun because you can watch his art evolve. And I do think that's why Beeple kind of lent himself as a first mover in this space, rather than someone more established like Banksy, who has also done some really novel stuff. But basically what we're seeing, art, is always about ownership and being able to take possession of a piece. Again, NFTs and blockchain. I actually saw a really great quote by a venture capitalist earlier today that said, the internet brought us surplus and blockchain brings us scarcity. This is taking that digital scarcity, allowing us to move it over the internet rails. And in this method, we can sell a token that is essentially a receipt of ownership or a license to possess, and provide, a digital counterpart that goes with that. So in the same way I can hang up a piece of art that I own in my home, this permits you to do that in a digital method. That could be taking a digital picture frame in your real world home and putting up a video like you see right here, or stepping into a digital world, what we would call a metaverse, and equally accessing that same piece of art. So in many ways, I push the message over and over again that we are seeing the dissolution of the cyberspace meet space barrier, that digital real world divide, and it's starting to just slowly erode. And this is one of the methodologies where we can see digital assets moving between the physical world and the real world. One thing I would like to note, aside from ownership, we can leverage this tech to really get freaky with the creative process. So what you're seeing right now is actually a responsive piece of art. This would have been very different if Trump had won the election. And the reason we're showing this one, this actual piece sold for many, many millions of dollars as well, and became in and of itself one of the highest grossing individual pieces of art, not part of a collection. But again, we can now take either layers of these pieces of art, split them up, make them each reactive to data sets or to ownership decisions, and make these kind of things that actually reflect in the masterwork. So all of that to be said, it really could end up creating augmented reality art that feels like the pictures in Harry Potter that are very much alive and can move. So there's all sorts of experimentation happening now, from ownership to fractionalization, and we're moving on. So take it away, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Harry Potter description that you mentioned is really kind of the future that I'm looking forward to. And as both, music and art have already kind of made the move to basically digital, blockchain, like you just said, is kind of that next iteration to help make it scarce and help provide value and allow artists to capture that value. So you're seeing these things go for millions of dollars like the Beeples, but I also just want to make a point here that it's now a medium for which any artist, you don't have to be a super famous artist, but you can now mint your own art collection and make it digitally scarce and have it be a viable revenue stream and be able to enforce the scarcity of your artwork, which really wasn't popular, or what really wasn't what you weren't able to do it before. So that like new innovation that was been created by blockchain is really something that is empowering many artists today. And that's why we're seeing a lot of people kind of rise and kind of take on this technology and adopt NFTs. The next kind of iteration, because art is now scarce, is now able to collect it. So NBA Top Shot obviously is one of the most popular platforms in which you can collect kind of moments in time. I really like NBA Top Shot because it's not just collecting NBA cards, like rookie cards that you have in the past, but you're actually collecting moments. You're collecting a play, you're collecting a dunk, you're collecting a crossover, which is a digitally native thing, which is now only possible because this is a digital platform. It's moving, you can kind of see it, you can kind of re-experience it. So I really like seeing projects like this that are basically taking advantage of this digital medium and backing it by NFTs. Other collectibles that you probably maybe were introduced in the very beginning was something called CryptoKitties. I just want to make a shout out to CryptoKitties because they were probably one of the original applications of NFTs where each cat that you can collect is actually digitally unique, not only in its source code, but also the way it looked. So every cat was different in some property or the other. And that's something that was enforced by blockchain. So you can think of it as like a certificate of authenticity that your cat is different, in the same way that you can certify that the play that you own, of LeBron James doing a slam dunk is literally one of 5 ever to be made. So that's why, we're seeing a kind of revolution or a reinvigoration of people collecting, Pokemon cards and other sorts of physical collectibles, but that's also translating with this rise in NFTs. And you're seeing just any sort of like digitally scarce item being collectible as well, such as art, Top Shot, CryptoKitties. So I think that it's just really interesting to see how now this popular mainstream media types are able to be reflected on blockchain, and really represents kind of like a revolution in the way that these things can be collected. So the next big topic actually is really, really exciting to me. I'm gonna pass it off to Janine to talk about real estate.
Thanks, Brian. So digital real estate is a logical next step in a world where people are spending their life more and more online. Children are playing hours and hours of Fortnite and Minecraft and Roblox, and adults have been playing in metaverses long before crypto came along, in places like Second Life and even before that in Sim City. So this concept of marrying digital real estate, virtual worlds, and crypto is a very logical progression. What I'm most excited about as somebody who's both a crypto enthusiast and a professional real estate investor is the convergence of these two things. And it just so happens that this industry is coming of age on the heels of a pandemic, where we've all been forced inside our homes. Retailers have had to figure out how to find customers when they're not going to stores, when they're not seeing billboards, when they're not in places that they can be easily advertised to. So there are so many interesting opportunities in these metaverses where real world companies can actually get to you as a customer inside these virtual worlds. So there are several virtual worlds that are built on the blockchain. We'll go into those a little bit deeper later, but I think the concept of marrying NFT technology with dedicated parcels within these universes is super exciting and a really investable asset class. What do you guys?
Yeah, I'll chime in here. So there's a variety of other ways that we can use this tech. Essentially, it is a wrapper format, a piece of code on top of a smart contract blockchain, and they can be used for a variety of things. Obviously, we're discussing really ownership, but again, the farther we move into this territory, the more creative people get. And the further we deconstruct our understanding of value, the more we can dive into these funny niches. Some examples of what's happening are tweets getting tokenized, which Jack Dorsey had played around with one of the applications. Again, they launched this code fairly experimental, but again, Jack was able to tokenize the first tweet that he ever sent on Twitter. He raised about $2.5 million and gave it away to a charity. So it was a really excellent event there. Brian had already mentioned CryptoKitties POAP is a really cool proof of active participation, a medal that you get basically for attendance. I have them for a few conferences and they're really fun. They stick with you as you just, live throughout the world with your wallet. And then of course, Unisocks are actually one of the more interesting things out there. They were a novel release for a decentralized exchange called Uniswap, and you could purchase these socks, but they were limited and they weren't necessarily difficult to arrive on in the beginning, but now they've become extremely scarce. They're worth about $20,000 if you don't redeem them for a pair of socks, or they're redeemable for this pair of socks that you see right here. And believe it or not, some people did that and they have the socks and they're very proud. So there's all sorts of crazy things.
Yeah, totally. And back on the POAPs, which is, the proof of attendance for these events, you're starting to see on a more practical level, like people starting to issue NFTs for tickets of like physical concerts, actual events that you're going to be attending in the future can be basically minted on NFTs. And that actually will be able to address a lot of the counterfeiting issues that people are seeing in the concert world. So I just want to put that out there. There are, aside from these purely digital concepts that we're talking about here, there are actual real world applications for NFTs as well. And we're starting to see many companies explore something like that. And on top of owning a ticket that gives you access to a concert, that NFT actually stays in your possession because it's linked to your account. And then that will make you eligible for future events, future benefits, or you can maybe even sell that as a proof that you went to the first concert of this type, etc. So there's a lot of really cool ways that people are exploring NFTs, and we're like just basically at the tip of the iceberg here.
So we can't talk about NFTs without mentioning Beeple, which we already have. But last week, the entire crypto industry, and I think actually a lot of the world, even outside crypto, looked at this and realized you couldn't ignore NFTs any longer. When an old established art house sells a piece of virtual art for $69 million, it's not something that you can ignore as a fad or as something that's very fringe. And that's why I think all the conversations are starting to converge now because of this one landmark sale.
Yep, agreed. I mean, Beeple is has basically kind of established NFT artwork as a legitimate source of art, as seen by the Christie's sale. But as Graham mentioned earlier in the presentation, he just didn't come from nowhere. He's been making art every day for 13 years. So he has been prominent in the digital art space and was one of the first artists to kind of start minting his artwork through NFT. He wasn't the first, but one of the first big ones to do it. And that happened around last year. And just through, community traction, he kind of got to this point. And that's something that's really cool about NFTs, where it's really, about the community. And because crypto blockchain is accessible to anybody with an internet connection, these organic communities can really center around certain artists and help them grow and launch into this, stardom. And Beeple himself has been very, very, humble, gracious, and surprised that he's got to this level. And, that means that anybody can really become something like this. You just got to, put in the effort and gather around a community.
I think the first tweet he released after the auction closed was, "Holy shit." So he was surprised at the dollar amount that this piece transacted for. Everybody knew it would be big, but nobody thought it would be this big, not even him.
I think it's
Right.
important to note this is not Christie's first NFT sale. It's their first digital asset sale. They did previously conduct one around a physical piece of art. It's a giant circle symbolic of this old stone that was very much a public ledger from an ancient civilization, and it had Bitcoin's first hash on it. So very cool. And it came with an NFT that was the digital representation of the same piece, but it would reflect the time of day of wherever this physical unit was moved around. So it would be in various museums, and the owner had the digital counterpart, and that was like a smart piece of art. Now, the other thing to note is that since we even put together this presentation, Sotheby's has followed suit and also issued one of these fully digital auctions. So this is beginning to pick up.
I think one of the key takeaways from this slide and from everything we're talking about, and even what Graham just said, since we put together this presentation, which was 3 days ago, Sotheby's has thrown their hat in the ring. This transformation and what NFTs is doing to intellectual property and art and music is happening at such a rapid pace. Top Shot basketball cards were trading for $9 a pack back in October. And now there are Top Shots that are selling for $200,000 each. In October of 2020, that was 5 months ago, Beeple's art was selling for $100 each. So this transformation, I think, is happening much faster than we've seen in any other technology space or vertical. And that's why I think it's important to start understanding and paying attention now before it really runs away from us. Kevin?
This is a perfect example about how mainstream adoption is already underway. Artists like Blau, artists like Grammatic, a lot of musicians have already begun to tokenize their music because it offers them a more efficient method of managing their distribution and ownership over their product. I think somebody in the chat mentioned, does this allow people to sort of have a ownership, almost like a stock ownership of an artist's distribution shares? Yeah, in a way it does. It makes that all possible. So we're already starting to see big artists enter the space, also securing, closing big deals around their NFT art. NFT art doesn't have to be something that is also new. It can be tokenized of existing pieces of art, maybe from the past. So you see artists coming, who are re-releasing pieces from 3 years ago that are now collectible pieces, and also can house things like distribution rights. I think this also is something that, keep in mind, yes, we're seeing big names come in, but it doesn't limit that opportunity to bigger names. People at every stage can now sort of enter this space. So we're seeing massive disruption within the music space in general.
In the real estate world, in a metaverse called Axie Land, what's interesting about the virtual real estate space is, again, like you've seen in art, like you've seen in music, the prices went from kind of insignificant to as expensive as real world real estate. So the highest price ever paid for a piece of virtual real estate, which is entirely pixelated, you cannot go there, you cannot touch it, was $1.5 million, which is exactly what you pay if you wanted to buy a 1-bedroom apartment in New York City. So it goes to show that, these virtual prices are starting to converge in some cases on real world prices, which is really mind blowing.
I just want to say I purchased my first piece of land on Decentraland earlier this week, and I'm very excited to start building on it. It just seems it's really cool to just be able to say oh, I own this piece of land in this finite area, and now it's all mine. No one can build on it. I can just do whatever I want with it because I don't have the capital to build something like that in real life. But at least now I can try to do it in a virtual world and kind of not be constrained by physics and only be constrained by my own imagination.
So this graphic is a great graphic. It is dated. So I believe this graphic is from about December, January, and it tries to show visually the total market cap of these different asset categories, from virtual real estate to exchanges that have a token component to them. Decentraland today has a market cap of over $1 billion. In 3 months ago, it was $38 million. So the value creation, the wealth creation for people that own land or tokens backed by these different asset classes is enormous. And that's another theme that I think it keeps running through today, is just we're talking about real dollar amounts. This is no longer rounding errors, but this is legitimate asset class, and people are parking significant amounts of real world wealth into them.
just in terms of what you're seeing right here, it's just a classic example of people coming together. There's a casino, there's a lot of different places you can come to in Decentraland, but what we're seeing is a rise of community. A lot of creators have started to flood this area and a chance to express themselves in a creative way. And yes, this is Decentraland that you're seeing right here. Ultimately, what I want to say is that people don't need to limit themselves to what they've been given in a physical realm. To a world like this, it doesn't just offer incentive financially, but also on a human level, it offers inclusivity for people who might be bedridden, for people who are self-conscious and can't be social because they're self-conscious about themselves. Decentraland has broken down so many of these barriers and allowing for people to connect and express themselves in a way that is ultimately fostering positivity. This is why I started a live stream on Twitch. As a result, I was connecting with so many different people that I started this live stream on Twitch. If you want to join anytime on Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m., just check out Kevin on Earth 999. And we live stream on Twitch and people come together and are super supportive. And it's just been such a great way to foster creativity and collaboration that ultimately it's leaving us all in a position to do more than we could ever do alone, especially from COVID. Now we're all reconnected and really anything's possible.
So the main currency that is used to transact within Decentraland is its own token. And the ticker for that token is MANA. MANA has had an incredible run over the past 3 months as more and more people and even companies are starting to take Decentraland very seriously. And you can see just from this price graph, MANA was trading around 18 cents a share 2 months ago, and now it's been kind of bouncing around right around the dollar mark. And I think that's just the beginning. There have even been, you want to talk about this, Kevin? I mean, you know this better than I do.
Yeah, I'm like, this is, that number is just so early. What you saw in that last slide is $1.03. We're talking 6,000-7,000 daily active users in Decentraland. When there's so much market potential that has even yet to be tapped, we're talking 6,000-7,000 people. In Minecraft, we're seeing 600 million people. So when you look at what's happening in Decentraland, you're seeing brands start to come in here and take it and really start to connect, because this is a much more engaged audience than you see sliding through their feed. These are people who are there, who are ready to take advantage of the latest drop, and they have the opportunity to be there without standing 3 hours, maybe a day in line outside of of a sneaker shop. So now you're seeing things like clothing brands, Adidas, all sorts of different groups that are coming into these decentralized spaces to host their drops. And that is like I said, when you start to expand into that space, and when you see the potential for wearables, for rideables, for people dropping rideable vehicles in the metaverse, we haven't even got to that point yet. So when we're talking about market opportunity that's still there for brands like Adidas to come in, you have to stop by the streams to hear about all this, because clearly not enough time, in this presentation to get into the vast opportunity for creativity and to that matter, that's also why it's so early and such an ideal opportunity for anyone who is interested in entering the space. Why, this year is going to be a very make or break opportunity for anyone who says and believes in the metaverse as an opportunity economically as well.
And for people who still are grasping at what this really means, I think it's worth mentioning, if you haven't already watched it, watch Ready Player One, because it's a really good example of what could happen in the future as these metaverses become more sophisticated and more interactive, and the user experience becomes more all-encompassing. And then you can really start to understand the magnitude of this opportunity, and how today, I think Decentraland still calls this the Bronze Age, because they acknowledge that the technology is still a bit janky, but every day they're working to make it better, and they may be the winner, there may be a different winner, but I think the fact that life is happening online and people from all over can meet in one place, that's here to stay. And that's definitely going to become a permanent part of our culture. So there are a bunch of metaverses out there. We've talked about Decentraland the most because it is the farthest along in terms of development and market cap. But the sandbox is also getting a lot of attention. Crypto voxels, I think Kevin can give us more color on each of these. I don't know if we need to go into that now, but it's not just one metaverse. There's probably room for many more than one winner. And each of them has a different flavor. So the different types of people with different interests and different expectations are showing up in these different places. So it's a really interesting time to start exploring and understand kind of where your tribe online lives virtually.
Absolutely. It's amazing. I mean, you see people opening up opportunities like land to host, people who are owning land, and just like you see in Skyrim, how people are playing Skyrim, imagine a decentralized unified server for Skyrim where you could actually own the land and the shop where you're selling the potions. So now there's a quest going on and people have to go ahead and sell it, that is what's happening here in these sort of metaverses. It's allowing a sort of ownership and sort of participation in game economics, as well as sort of standard adaptations of industries. So each one of these universes or metaverses, to that matter, kind of shift in that way.
So what we've done at Republic is take this concept of virtual real estate and apply real world real estate investing principles to it. And one of the first things we needed to figure out was what actually drives value of different parcels in these worlds. So we built an internal model that's kind of the equivalent of like the Zillow Zestimate, where you can log on and check how much your friend's house is worth or how much your own house is worth. And it's based on a model that they've built at Zillow to try to figure out some combination of the land and the location and the price per square foot. We've done something very similar for the metaverses so that we can come up with a very quick assessment of where parcels might be undervalued. And we use lots of different inputs, but truthfully, it's valued in many of the same ways that we value real world real estate. So it's a function of location and proximity to transportation hubs. In metaverses, there's the entry point into that metaverse where everybody starts out when they enter the game. And proximity to that is obviously one store of value. Also being close to other hot things. So if you are close to the casino, that's obviously a pretty good location because people will be falling out of the casino. They'll have actual mana to go spend. And so there are some interesting retail connection opportunities. So we've been spending a lot of time thinking about how do we value the land? How do we pay the right price for it? And then how do we optimize its value long-term? Because again, just like real world real estate, you can leave the land undeveloped, but if you really want to unlock its value, you want to build something there. And you want to build something that builds community, that the value of that community then trickles down around through the other surrounding parcels. And if you're smart about it, you buy many parcels that are contiguous. So as you bring in you basically are placemaking, and the value of those little neighborhoods increases exactly the same way it does in the real world.
These are just some examples. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add too. I mean, we've been very linear with our concepts, but this does apply to like renderized visuals in a virtual world. You could own a piece of, let's say, the Taj Mahal, and every time viewers come and they see it and the servers render that, you're financially backing that server space, and you would get paid for it. So, I mean, it gets really crazy. And people are starting to experiment in all sorts of fun ways. So, what we're seeing here are some of the early iterations around NFT marketplaces. Kevin, if you want to talk to any of them, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, these are just some examples. Some of them are, they take applications, so they're very exclusive for drops, for, bigger artists, more established artists. But things like OpenSea allow you to pretty much put your stuff up there just by paying the gas fee. So anywhere from 20 to 40 bucks, you can mint your first piece and you can start to share that with your fan base. So the entry barrier is not high. It just takes maybe a day of doing some learning on, what's behind that and the process. But that's why we're here today to kind of, help guide the next generation of people who are interested in really pioneering the space. Excellent.
And all of this is, presently interacting with Web3. And one way to sort of understand that is like, what does that mean, interacting with Web3? When we log into the current state of the internet, we're essentially already paying the underlying infrastructure through your internet service provider, logging onto Google and giving all your data, being part of that, surveillance economy. The way Web3 pivots out of this is by having all of those elements that support the actual engagement, the interface. They're all fully decentralized. Anybody can step up and run and operate those elements, whether they be, the servers that hold all of the information or the routers that point you in the correct direction. And the way we engage with all this is by paying tiny amounts of capital. In Ethereum, it would be gas, which is paid for via ETH, the asset. And that is how we reward the people for supporting the network and actually making a peer-to-peer marketplace for using this new Web3 ecosystem. The main way we engage is, and we also hold our digital identities in this way, are through our wallets, right? So your wallet address is pretty much your identification. This is where you can collect NFTs. You can, throw your wallet up on a wall via a variety of applications and see all of your NFTs out there. You can engage in decentralized finance. There's a bevy of things that are offered. And one of the most prominent applications and wallets has been MetaMask. There are others. This is not, a strict endorsement. However, they have been around the longest and they're very much the most ubiquitous. But by all means, I do recommend trying a download. I actually think their mobile application is a great way to explore the Web3 ecosystem. They've done a really good job at creating a browser and saying, these people have built financial applications, these people have built NFT applications, and they make it really easy. If you were to do this through the internet, it would be more discovery or self-discovery, if you would. So, this is really the first engagement you get to a web page. Most Web3 is locked. It's you cannot really interact with it until you connect with your wallet. After which all sorts of interactions can either cost money or make you money and really enter you into this new Web3 world.
So obviously this presentation today was brought to you by Republic. Republic is about 150 people based in different cities around the world. Our headquarters is in New York, but we have offices in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Miami, Tel Aviv, Shanghai, Abu Dhabi, and we are very strong in the securitization of assets and also in the crypto space. I run the real estate group there, and so this work that we're doing is a cross-disciplinary exercise between legal, securitization, tokenization, and the real estate group. So it's a really interesting time to bring together all these different specialties that we have internally to create value and unlock value for people that want to participate in it. And that's it. So now we can open up to Q&A. Julia?
Yeah, we've had a bunch of good questions. One thing I wanted to address was, the application of NFTs for physical world assets. So maybe someone, if you want to talk to how the convergence of real world assets can be applied with NFTs. A lot of people have asked about it.
Yep, but I can take that one. So NFTs can be thought of as a digital certificate of ownership for physical assets. I would say, a lot of innovation has been happening because things have been moving to digital, which is why it's just like really easy to integrate NFTs in a world where things are becoming more and more digital, such as in the music space, such as in the digital real estate space and digital art. But for physical items, such as, physical concert tickets or even physical goods, like if you want to certify you have a certain, artwork. So as Graham mentioned earlier, one of the first NFT auction was for a physical piece of art. So you can actually showcase that you own this piece of art by maybe scanning a QR code or just having a digital representation of it on the computer. So you can even have a digital representation of a physical item in something like Decentraland that we mentioned before. So there are ways that NFTs are bridging the ownership of physical items to the digital world. But I would try to think of it in a more digitally native way, because that's really where the innovation is occurring on NFTs.
And of course, it's, worth noting that for like basic consumer goods like clothing, you might pick up a sweater and be like, wow, I really wish my avatar had that. And we are starting to see shoe brands that will release a shoe with a little NFT QR code on top of it so that your avatar can actually have that piece. Again, it's blurring that digital real divide, and it's only one of the use cases of this concept of ownership. There are new NFT codes coming out where I could take a piece of physical art, and take the ownership and fractionalize it. So let's say I'm going to sell it to 50 different people. It's a crowdsourced piece of art. Again, it's all what you can put into code. So how do you take the current legal structure? How do you take the concept of ownership and convert that to something that a computer can handle? And again, it's 50% law and reality, and the other is a mix of creativity and experimentation.
So we've gotten some good questions. One said, where can we find the proprietary digital land valuation model? That is right now ours. We are sharing the information to the extent that it's helpful for the investors in some of our investment products, but it's not a product that you can access other than through Republic. So it is our own, and that might change in the future, but for now it's ours. The second question is a little more administrative. Somebody wanted to know if we'll be recording this and sharing it, and we will. So if you've missed any portion or you want to share with friends, that will be available. I thought the audience might be really interested in watching Kevin live stream from Decentraland. We've talked a lot about it, but the beautiful thing about virtual worlds is really easy to show through a Zoom.
So yeah, we're right here. We're right here at Decentraland, right in my plot of land. Let's see, say hi to the crowd, Big Ben, and say if you can give us a wave hello. See if he might be AFK.
Yeah. What's up, everyone?
Oh, here he is. We're just here hanging out. We're going to show the crew here into our gallery. And anyone who wants to can make a gallery like this. This is a single plot of land. So right here, this is where we shoot off our NF Tuesday events. And yeah, pretty much completely customized this myself. These are hyperlinks that'll take you to these sort of places. So instead of having an album cover, you can have this whole space with all your links. And this is a lot more engaging and motivating for people to participate in. They can go see your art here, so you can set up a whole gallery space. And this is just an example of, what's possible even with one land, let alone, some people have larger pieces of land set up where they're doing, entire venues, clubs, festival grounds. And yeah, this is just a little example of what's possible. Not to mention, all of the expansions that are going to go beyond this, whether it be wearables, even things like we saw in Fortnite. We saw different kinds of emotes start to have a large economy. So we can see NFTs that are going to be emote NFTs, or also my favorite, hairables, not wearables, but we'll have hair designs that are going to be hairables. So really anything's possible. This is just a short example. There you go. Big Ben's busting a move for us. And if you want to check out and get onboarded, feel free to stop by the stream anytime.
We're a little bit short on time here, but I just want to end with this closing question, because someone was asking what's a good place to go for more resources on NFTs and crypto. Maybe you guys can share some of your favorite resources with the audience here.
I would say at this point, the best thing to do is to start connecting into the community. I know in terms of Decentraland, that's where a lot of the community convenes. Although crypto voxels, I would suggest going to the Discord channels for these metaverses, where a lot of these people convene and they're very open to talking and connecting. From there, a lot of those blogs, they'll be very informative. And honestly, another great way is had some shit come up, but yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Kevin. Somebody hopped into the stream there. Sorry about that.
Is that somebody in Decentraland, Kevin?
Yeah, that was somebody on the plot of land.
Yeah.
I think to Kevin's point, following the community, following creators that you vibe with, people that are just, active. Twitter is a very great place for it. There's musicians, there's, gamers, metaverse, a lot happening in VR, AR. The Unity team talks a lot about it. The guys that are actually building the graphics that make these worlds. That's the best way. Just try to dive in, find some plugin where you can communicate. As Kevin mentioned, Discord is a really transparent place if you are like company specific. So like Decentraland, for example, you could go in their Discord and learn.
Exactly.
That's true. The Discord channels are pretty active and pretty lit. On republicrealm.com, we keep some resources, links to our Discord, and we will continue to post more resources as we find them and think that they're worth sharing. Somebody asked on the call, what's the investment minimum for the Republic Realm Fund? It is still an invitation only fund. So if you haven't been invited yet, somebody at Republic, there might be an opportunity. The minimum is $25,000. But if you you can reach out to us if you think you want to talk about it more. We can put you on the list for when it's ready to be open to the public.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. I know we didn't get to all of your questions, but if you want to follow up, you can reach out to us at hello@republicreal.com. And we're really exciting. It's early innings, and I think that things are only going to evolve from here. So thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.